Welcome to Voice of the Nation. I'm Chanchai Wong. Now, UK has a new Prime Minister, Truss, who was a former Foreign Secretary. Now she is taking over as the Prime Minister after Boris Johnson exits. She is 47 years old. She has been MP for 12 years and a cabinet minister for 8 years. But what else do we know about her and what direction is she taking UK to? Let's talk with our guest today, Associate Professor Dr. Somchai Phakapat Viwat, Independent Political Scientist. Welcome, Professor Somchai, to our program. Okay, let's talk about Liz Truss. She won the vote from member of the Conservative Party. She got 57%, while her competitor, Rishi Sunak, got 42%. Do you think that the result was very close?
Yes, it's closer than expected earlier. But anyway, she got already the premiership. The reason that she could get the premiership could be attributed to the first thing. She successfully identified herself with what we call the identity of what we call the conservative militant, which were the number over 160 thousands person. The identity of the militant is conservative.
Okay.
All these people want Brexit. Secondly, all these people want what we call lower tax. So she did the, the two things that I have already mentioned, her identity. First, she voted for against the Brexit, but once the Brexit was a success, she turned her court into what we call the defender of the Brexit, that is identified with the militant. Secondly, she said that she is conservative, identify herself with the militant. So militant mean that lower what we call regulation. These are the true attributes that could be the what we call the key success factor for her triumph.
Okay. And is that why she called shape shifter? Because she often change her position from one to another.
Yes, there are two incidents that I would say that attribute her to the shape sitter. The first thing, when she was a child, her father was a far left, against Margaret Thatcher. So she's part of the one that protest against Margaret Thatcher. But later on, she identified herself as Margaret Thatcher. That is the first change. The secondly, she was against the Brexit. But when the Brexit was a success, she already got what we call I'm the Brexiteer. So this is why she has been called what we call the shape sitter. This two incident could identify herself as a shape sitter quite well.
Okay. Okay. So she won the vote. She won the majority vote from the member of Conservative Party. But what about the opinion of UK citizen in general?
Well, I think that this will be the problem. If you look at the electoral process, she has lost in the first procedure, in the first step, voted by what we call the backbencher. That is the member of parliament that are not the government member. She lost to Sushi. But the second stage, she won because the elector are the militant, which are conservative. So it means that there could be what we call division within the party, the conservative. Secondly, if you look at the people at large, I mean the general, most British, according to the polls, voted for Sushi. So she got what we call the minority. According to the procedure, she got from what we call the conservative, but not the country as a whole. So this two incident, these two process will mean that she will have a trouble time, difficult time to govern the United Kingdom. How could she accommodate, for example, the general public at large? Because she was not elected by the general public, but just by the minority of the conservative members only. That would be the problem for herself in the next step after she assumed the premiership.
Okay. And as you mentioned that the Conservative Party is still divided, and there are doubts if this division still persists. then she could follow Boris Johnson's path and out of position before the next election in 2025. Do you think that she could stay in position as Prime Minister until the next election?
Okay, the pessimist look at her and say that you could be one of the shortest premiership, but okay, that is just a speculation. But anyway, she will face a lot of problems. First of all, economically, Britain could be, for example, facing one of the worst economic scenario now and the future. Inflation was hovering around 10%. Last quarter, the economic growth was minus 0.1. Uh, a lot of people expected next year the economic growth of the Britain will be the worst among the European countries. And apart from that, the energy bill will be huge, not to mention about the incoming winter. So all this problem add up to another one, what we call the declining productivity and also the aging society. So how could she solve the problem? So much accumulated to the Britain or to the benefit of herself and her Conservative Party. Apart from that, the Conservative Party has been trailing about 10% behind the rival, that's the Labour. So that would be the great problem, the huge problem that the new Prime Minister will face in the coming months and years.
Okay. As you say that the biggest problem in UK right now is the rising cost of living from everything from basic commodity good to energy. So what is she going to do to solve this crisis? Have you take a look at her policy?
Okay. Economic policy, she got the vote because she said that she will lower the tax. For example, she will lower the tax that has been expected to impose by Sushi, the corporate tax, rising from 19 to 25. She said that she would not do that. Secondly, she will lower the tax on internet and the insurance, the national insurance. And of course, she will lower the tax, what we call the green levy. But anyway, what she wanted to do first thing, try to reduce what we call the energy bill. Okay, that is what she is going to do. But how to finance that? She would continue uh, to to uh, to resort to what we call the debt creation. So it means that the public debt will be prolonged for the benefit of having enough finance for the uh, relief measure, particularly the energy bill. That is what she's trying to do. But at what cost? In so doing, it could, for example, raise up the inflation that is so high. So that's what the critic has been anticipate. How could she reconcile on one thing, more and more spending, and the other thing at the risk of higher inflation. So that is what we have to do. How could she compromise all this to this opposing situation for the benefit of herself, her cabinet? That's what we have to do.
Okay, now let's talk about foreign policy because Liz Truss, she was a foreign secretary. What can you tell about her foreign policy?
I think the foreign policy will be the same as Boris Johnson, that is based on three pillars. The first one identify a lower engagement through what we call the free trade with the EU, European Union. Secondly, the special relationship with America, and the third one try to be a global player through what we call the Indo-Pacific area. Try to create what we call a vast free trade area, make up about 80% of the international trade. But anyway, in so doing, she will face some foreign policy problem. The first thing, she could run into conflict with the EU, European Union, because she support the violation of the so-called Northern Ireland Protocol, like Boris Johnson, and the
Okay.
legislative that's already passed in the second the version. So it means that if she insists on that, that could be, for example, the violation of the protocol. That could be to conflict with the European Union. Secondly, she said that special relationship, it's not so special. He said to Blinken, the foreign minister of the Secretary of State of America, how could it special? United Kingdom relationship in trade with Canada and Mexico is huge. It's more than America. How could it be that is special? So there's some doubt over what could happen. But anyway, I think that the special relationship it already entrenched. Neither or not any prime minister in England could, for example, avoid that kind of what we call the policy because special relationship is very important. And one thing that is successful during Boris Johnson is the creation of the AUKUS, that is America, Australia, and United Kingdom. So I think that the policy is more or less the same. The only thing that some people worry is the conflict with the EU concerning the Northern Ireland Protocol.
Okay, and she also has a very strong stance against China. There are reports that she is going to recognize that genocide is taking place in Xinjiang, and she is going to declare that China is a threat to UK. Should we expect more conflict to emerge between United Kingdom and China?
Okay, I think if she, for example, announced that the United Kingdom and China become what we call a rival, I will have no what say I have I'm not concerned with that because if you look at what happened in America and in EU, America has already changed the status of China from uh, uh, strategic partner into strategic rival, and the EU at the same time changed from systemic rival into partner into rival. So if Liz Truss do the same, I don't expect that there could be any, for example, different because that is what the line and the foreign policy adopted by most of the NATO country and also the EU. So if he follow that path, there could be, for example, no surprise for me or for any other.
Okay, and what about her foreign policy towards Asia Pacific and including Thailand? Is United Kingdom going to engage more in this region?
Yes, because one of the Brexit uh, uh, reason is try to enhance the power or the influence of the United Kingdom. Being part of the United Kingdom, England has been, for example, under, for example, the influence of the cooperation between Germany and France. So once she got out of the EU, she could expand, for example, the influence in terms of trade and in terms of security. So Asia Pacific is what we call the core strategic area that the Brexit wanted to be engaged in. So without doubt, England could or want to play a role in the Indo-Pacific, both economically and also security. So in this context, of course, Asia Pacific includes, for example, ASEAN, which is one of the most interesting grouping and progressive grouping that uh, all the advanced countries want to be engaged, not only America, Russia, and all the other. So the foreign policy of this stress will follow Boris Johnson, one of the area, the core area, of course, Indo-Pacific.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Somchai, for talking with us today. And that's all for Voice of the Nation. Thank you for staying with us.